What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 22 for My Team Career Mode Season 3, Round number 5, the Spanish Grand Prix. Back in Spain for the first time since Season 1. We didn't come here last season, and yeah, Spain, from what I remember in Season 1, I did okay. It was one of those tracks where I really struggled in the previous games, but did a little bit better, I think, here last time in Season 1 in this game, but still not one of my strongest tracks, so especially now with a teammate like Lando Norris, who's performing as well as he is at the moment. How is this going to go? One thing though is that the new update has come out since playing, coming into this race, and I can now change the tyre allocation once again, which is awesome. So now I'm actually going to have multiple sets of softs for qualifying, which is going to help out massively because, yeah, it's just been really annoying having to use mediums and hards and only having a couple of sets of softs. Looking at R&D, there's a big jump up for us, for McLaren and for Alpine. We all close right up to Mercedes, and we are now pretty much all on top of each other, third in R&D. Ferrari and Red Bull still jumping a bit ahead there, but yeah, we have now closed right up to Mercedes and Alpine, but McLaren have followed along with us, so that battle for kind of the third best team could be getting even spicier here, so very excited to see what happens there. Q1, and to be honest, not looking great. Yeah, my pace here was not very good. I just couldn't get the lap together. I was really struggling with this track. Like I said, I thought I did better here in Season 1 than I had been doing in previous games, but now that we're up against Lando Norris, he goes P4 in Q1, showing ridiculous pace in that car. We end up P15, so we only just make it out of Q1. Now, I didn't get a great lap together. I could definitely have gone quicker, but still wasn't great. And unfortunately, I do not make it through to Q3. Now, on one hand, that is very disappointing. On the other hand, our car is still technically the 6th quickest car on paper. You know, you've got Red Bull, Ferrari, Alpine, Mercedes, McLaren. Those are the top 5 teams on paper. We are the 6th team, so technically we are outside of that, top 10, getting into the top 10. Although it is so close between, the top, like Mercedes, Alpine, ourselves, and McLaren, that we can often squeeze in there, especially when you've got Latifi in the Alpine, who hasn't made it through to Q3 yet, and he won't do this time either. He's just not got the pace in that Alpine. Generally we can just about scrape into Q3, but on this occasion I just don't have the pace at this track, and it also doesn't help that halfway through this lap my DRS fails. So now our DRS is closed. We cannot open it. Thankfully I was able to open it on that kind of back straight, that middle straight, whatever you want to call it. But as we come to the end of this lap, as I completely screw up the final chicane. I was getting that chicane wrong this whole race weekend, but as we come onto this final part of the lap here, probably lost a tenth or two just there because I couldn't deploy DRS right at the end. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. Lando Norris ends up P8, so he only just makes it through to Q3, but we end up P14. It is not a good qualifying for us, only beating Tsunoda and Magnussen, beaten by, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly. That's not great, but let's see if we have any more luck in the race.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, a track that will certainly force the drivers to push themselves. It consists of a very impressive main straight going into turn 1. It's a straight that also offers a DRS zone, so it's likely to be a hotspot for overtakes. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Norris, George Russell, and Bottas, Ocon, Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Lance Stroll, Gasly, Albon, Nicholas Latifi, Shaw, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, Schwartzman, Ticktum, Liam Lawson, and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, so P14 for us, and it's P4 for Lando. He may not have had the best Q2, but P4 and Q3 is just ridiculous. He's showing that he is absolutely... he's wringing the neck out of this car. I mean, I guess technically is a roundabout there if we're so close to Mercedes, Alpine and McLaren, but yeah, he's definitely getting the best out of that car. I mean, he managed a podium last time in Imola. What can he do here in Spain? What can we do? We're starting on the soft tyres because now we can change the tyre thing, and because we didn't get through to Q3, we have a fresh set of soft tyres, so we're going for the one stop from the softs to the mediums. We're going to try the thing that Ricciardo and McLaren have been doing on us for the last couple of races, so it's a decent start for us against Latifi, who's on the mediums. There's a couple of soft tyre runners behind us as well. I think Kevin Magnussen on the soft tyres, and there's also Alex Albon ahead, also on softs. I think Lance Stroll is on the mediums. He's had a pretty decent start as well, but we've got ahead of Latifi at the start, so we've actually gained a position off the start for once in this game, as we very nearly go into the back of Pierre Gasly, just get massively caught out under braking there. He gets a little bit caught out by Albon up ahead, and we just have to be careful here because we have more grip through the corners on these soft compound tyres, and I mean, these are cars that we should be quicker than anyway. It's just qualifying did not go our way, so we are definitely looking to make our way through the field in this race as quickly as we can on these soft tyres, and just hope that we can do the soft to medium strategy, because it worked for Ricciardo in a couple of races before, as Latifi is actually having a look back down the inside of us as we're struggling a little bit for speed down that straight, but we're just going to try and hang it now on the inside of the next corner, and with these soft tyres we are going to keep that position. But it's not been a terrible start. It's not been a great start either for us. But yeah, we really want to see if we can make this one stop from softs to mediums work. It wasn't an option that was given to me on the race strategy. It was a soft to hard strategy that I actually got given. But I'm going to try for the soft to medium because I think we can make it work. McLaren made it work a couple of races, so we're going to try and make it work here as well. Looking at the start, Carlos Sainz, the home hero, the homeboy in Spain at the Spanish Grand Prix, does not get a good start off the line. Has already been overtaken by Lando Norris and is now under threat from Valtteri Bottas, who is the lead McLaren this time around. Good qualifying from him, up in like P5, P6. Well, he's now just got himself ahead of Bottas and Sainz, sorry, and Sainz is really not having a good start to his home Grand Prix here, as now he's under fire from George Russell as well, and he's going to fight this one, but he has fallen down many positions already. He's already down to, what is that, P5? He's already down to P5 here, and Russell looking to demote him down to P6 as they're going to go side by side through this very tight section here, and he's actually gotten ahead Russell, so that is Sainz down to P6 from P3 at his home Grand Prix. Not the start that he would have wanted for sure here. As now Lando Norris is starting to come under pressure from Valtteri Bottas. Perhaps our car doesn't have quite the pace here, but Bottas is on the soft tyres. It looks like he's also trying to go for this soft to medium strategy. The McLaren seem very good on their tyres. They're doing that a lot this season. The last 3 races they're going from softs to mediums. I think Ricciardo may also be doing the same thing. So yeah, McLaren just seem to have really good tyre wear this season. He gets past Norris, and Norris now coming under fire from George Russell as well. It looks like our teammate has issues, but Russell has even more issues as he makes contact with Norris through turn 1 and has got wing damage. That is terrible for Russell. He didn't have a good race last time out. He's going to try and find Norris though into this next corner, but just doesn't have the downforce with that missing end plate. And yeah, it's another terrible weekend shaping up to be for Russell, as he's going to have to come in for a pit stop, as we now find ourselves on the back of Pierre Gasly, just finding that we have a little bit more pace. And as we come down into this next braking zone, we're going to go for a lunge up the inside. He gives us the racing room, but fights us around the corner, but we just have a little bit more traction than him on these soft tyres, and that brings us up into P11 now after Russell came in for a pit stop. We now have George Russell once again Lando Norris slightly falling down the order a little bit here. Carlos Sainz has now managed to get past him. He's making his charge back up the field again here. But it's not to worry with Norris. I think he's still going to have a good race here. We continue on. We've now got Alex Albon ahead of us. He's also on the soft tyres, but doesn't have DRS. Goes very defensive to the inside, but we're just going to charge and push our way through, get ahead of him. Slightly fights us on the exit of turn 1, turn 2, but we're going to get ahead of Albon. Now we're up into the top 10, so this is good. Up into the top 10 already. It's taken a little bit longer than I would have hoped, perhaps, but if we can make the strategy work, it'll definitely be good. Carlos Sainz now showing that he has got some pace after that not great start, and perhaps Valtteri Bottas in the McLaren are starting to struggle on those soft compound tyres, so that moves Carlos Sainz up into I think P3 now, so he's back up pretty much to where he started. We come in on lap number 12, our tyres are fairly shot by this point, so we're on to the medium compound tyres. We're hoping that these are going to last the rest of the race, but the front right is slow climbing off. It is a slow pit stop, about 4.5-5 second pit stop for us, and that is unfortunate. We're going to come out of the pits just ahead of George Russell, who came in earlier for that wing change. He's gone onto a set of hard tyres to the end of this race, so it might not be the worst strategy for him. He's still very much in for scoring points here. As now, Bottas finding himself fighting with Robert Schwartzman in the Haas, who hasn't come in for a pit stop yet, started on those medium compound tyres, and is actually fighting Bottas on the exit of this corner. He's actually gotten ahead of Bottas, but Bottas is going to try and stay round the outside, and Schwartzman, though, really putting up a good fight. Perhaps Bottas, still being on cold medium tyres, cannot make a move at the moment, but will eventually make that move stick. I think Schwartzman will come in a couple of laps time anyway. As we continue on, it's the two McLarens ahead of us now, but a fair way ahead on those medium tyres, and yeah, we're just trying to see what we can do here. I don't think the medium tyre runners have quite come in yet. They might just be starting to come in these next few laps. Lance Stroll, just ahead of us, has a puff of smoke from his engine, and that is him out of the Spanish Grand Prix. Not good for him. I mean, he wasn't having the best race in the world, to be honest, especially with his teammate up in P1. But yeah, that is Stroll out with a mechanical failure. Lando Norris now fighting Valtteri Bottas, actually, because I think Bottas has an issue. I haven't heard anything over the radio, but Bottas seems to be slowing down. Norris has got past on the hard tyres, so Norris is doing the medium to hard strategy, and now Ricciardo is fighting with Bottas. Bottas was a fair way ahead of Ricciardo before the pit stop phases, but yeah, I think Bottas is having a little bit of an issue here, because he just seems to be slowing down and having issues, as now down the straight he's lost a lot of time to Norris up ahead, and his teammate is going to fight him. We've seen the two McLarens fighting quite a bit this season. They seem quite well matched to each other, but Bottas just hasn't had the best luck, to be honest, and has been a little bit off these last few races. Well, he seemed to be having a good time this race, but now has an issue and has been overtaken by Ricciardo. Now Esteban Ocon in the Alpine is going to have a look to the inside as well, but Bottas takes a tight line and really, you know, blocks him off there and doesn't let Ocon through. There's now Hamilton and myself on the back of this train as well, and this is actually the same moment here, because as Ocon was having a look on Bottas, I was having a look around the outside of Hamilton, but he just went so defensive into that corner, and with Ocon and Bottas fighting ahead, I just couldn't really make anything work there. A couple of laps later, and Ocon's once again going for a move on Bottas, but he just doesn't seem to be able to get the run down into turn 1. I don't know, he's just not close enough out of the final chicane and can't quite get a run, and this actually means that George Russell's now caught up to the back of us as well. So I'm now in a McLaren sandwich, a Mercedes sandwich with Hamilton ahead, Russell behind, but I would like to change that as Hamilton once again goes defensive into turn 1. We go very late on the brakes, and we just about have enough room to not go into the back of Ocon. Hamilton tries fighting it, but out of turn 3 we have gotten ahead of Lewis Hamilton and can now charge our way ahead, because I want to get past Ocon, because he is not getting past Bottas as quickly as he should be, and we're going to try and make this move stick. down the inside of turn 1 on Ocon, side by side with him through turn 2, gives us a little bit more of a fight than Hamilton did. But I'm glad we've gotten ahead of him at pretty much the first time of asking, because for us, Bottas should be relatively easy. He seems to have a little bit of an engine issue, and without DRS and with us with DRS, we make a fairly easy move into turn 1, have to take a little bit of a tight line, but we're going to get ahead and now let them fight behind me, and we just have a lot of clean air ahead. To these two is Lando Norris in P3, Lando Norris in P4, Daniel Ricciardo in P5, but Ricciardo trying to make a move on Norris, Ricciardo on the medium tyres, Norris on the hards, and although those mediums may be going off towards the end of the race, at the moment they still seem pretty good for Ricciardo, and he makes himself around the outside of that corner there. Very nice move from Ricciardo, the two old teammates battling each other. They've had a few battles this season, but of course Lando Norris, now at our team, has to concede the position at that point in time. Latifi now coming under fire from Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. You've also got Alexander Albon right there behind, but Latifi's gonna try and fight this one. He's not fighting with cars that he really should be fighting with. You know, he really should be up here with us, battling with us, but unfortunately for Latifi, he just doesn't have the pace, and he's finding himself fighting with an AlphaTauri and a Williams. But these two are still side by side, Latifi and Gasly. This is a great battle going on here. Side by side for this whole first half of the lap. They then go up the very tricky, very narrow left to right hander, and Latifi just about manages to come out ahead. But as they now come down this next straight, Gasly now has the DRS, and he will have a look to the inside, go late on the brakes, and he's on the inside of Latifi. This battle is still raging on here. Albon sniffing around in the background. This is an awesome battle to see here, especially at Spain, where overtaking is not the most easy. You know, it's very easy to get stuck in a DRS train, but Latifi eventually just about stays ahead of Gasly. I think he will then get overtaken down to turn 1, but yeah, great lap long battle there for those two, technically three, with Albon in the background there. But now Ocon on the back of Bottas has spun round one of the corners, and he has lost 2 positions. He's trying to go for the move on Bottas. He loses positions to both the Mercedes, so that is not good for Esteban Ocon and Alpine, and this now gives Hamilton the chance to have a go on Bottas. Bottas really starting to struggle on those tyres and potentially still having this issue, and Hamilton makes easy work of it. It took so long for Ocon to try and make a move. He just wasn't looking like making a move. Hamilton gets the chance, and he does it first time of asking. That just shows the caliber of his driving. And on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, Norris gets himself back ahead of Daniel Ricciardo up into P4, so that may have just sealed P4 for Norris, so it's going to be another great race for him. He's got the best of us once again here, Lando Norris. That's 2 races in a row. We've definitely got our it, you know, out for us here, with our teammate beating us 2 races in a row and being very close to us in the rest of the races this season. So yeah, in the end it's going to be P6 for us, so considering where we started, it's a good finish. The strategy definitely worked for us from soft to mediums, but once again we've been beaten by Norris. We really need to step up our game, because he is now inching away at us in the championship.
They've done it then, a spectacular victory here in Spain and a massive confidence boost going into the next race. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
So Max Verstappen makes it 3 wins in a row, and this time he's done it with both Ferraris finishing the race. Last 2 races he's won. There's been issues for both the Ferraris, you know, double DNF for Leclerc and Sainz at in China, and then a DNF for Sainz and an issue right at the start of the sprint for Leclerc last time out in Imola. But this time both Ferraris stay in the race, and they have come home second and third, Leclerc and Sainz respectively, but Verstappen clinches the win. It's fastest lap for Leclerc though, so he's trying to fight back in this championship after 2 disastrous rounds. Norris comes home P4, we come home P6, so it's still a good result for us, but not amazing. DNFs there, Lance Stroll, which is the one you saw, Yuki Tsunoda also DNF'd quite early on in the race with a mechanical failure. And in the championship, Leclerc gets himself back up into P3 again, knocking Stroll and Ricciardo down a couple of positions. Verstappen still leads the way with a hefty lead as well. He's got a decent lead there. It's still P7 and 8 for Norris and myself, but Norris now about 6 points, I think, ahead of us. So yeah, he's inching away. But in the Constructors' Championship, we move ahead of McLaren. We are now P3 in the Constructors' Championship. That is what we're fighting for. I think P1 and P2 is too much to go for this season. Ferrari and Red Bull are just too quick, but I reckon we can stick here with McLaren, Mercedes and Alpine, and P3 is what we're aiming for in the championship this season. That is what we're going for. I think it's going to be a great fight, especially with McLaren and Mercedes. I think Alpine are a little bit too far behind with Latifi's performances, but yeah, it could be a great battle for the rest of the season. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.